Hey guys, Johnny from JTK Gaming, and I finally have my tank healer Templar build. So I kind of want to change the way I do these build videos and kind of talk to you guys about more of the reasoning behind why I made the build and more of the theory of the build and the way I made it work, more so than, what specific glyph I'm wearing and, the finer details like that. Because at the end of the day, you know, if you guys want to play a build like this, it's better for you to understand the theory of the build and, you know, what's actually making the build actually work more so than the specific glyph or so. Like, you got to understand how the build works, and I think that's where a lot of people go wrong. They'll go watch a build video and they'll copy, the gear and the stats and everything like that, and then the build doesn't work for them. And the reason the build doesn't work for them because everyone has a different play style. Everyone plays differently, and I want to kind of push that a lot more on my channel and kind of try and get people to think for themselves. And trust me, guys, you'll have a lot more fun playing these builds if you kind of take the idea and then make the build your own. So if you like the idea of a tank and a healer in a build, then stay tuned and we can talk about it some more and I'll explain how the build works. So the build was born because I got sick of healing and I got sick of tanking, and I just found these boring and not interesting. So I wanted to make a tank and a healer. I've wanted to do it for a long time, but I finally got to the point where I needed to, work it out, invest some time in it, and, get my head around how I could pull it off. I always knew that time management was going to be my biggest issue. Finding the time to tank and finding the time to also heal was going to be an issue in a build. So that's the reason why I chose Imperium. And it basically, when you take damage, it has a chance to proc a 14k shield, which is a pretty decent shield. And when that procs, that bides me a few seconds where I don't need to worry about myself or my group, and I can reapply taunts, I can reapply aggro, and, I can get myself back into a good situation where I may not have been. And the second set I use is Malabeth. Now, this is much the same thing. If I get a Malabeth proc, I know I don't need to worry about myself. I can, focus on the group, and I can focus on, maybe tanking, or, I don't have to worry about keeping myself alive for those few seconds. In most situations, anyway. So that leads me into the third set I chose, and it was Lynch, because I also knew I needed a really good sustain. I needed to, be able to keep my magic up, to be able to, keep heals going out, keep my shield up. That without magic, I'm dead, basically. So Lynch was really good for this, and it performed really well, better than some of the other ones that I tried with this build. So, as you can see right now, we're fighting a boss. I'm going to hold aggro, and everyone's going to stand behind me. The reason that this happens is because my main heal, my main burst heal, is Breath of Life. Without Breath of Life, I can't really play the build anywhere nearly as good as what I could without it. Like, Breath of Life is the bread and butter heal of this build, because you don't have a lot of time to fuck around. Like, if you need to heal someone, you need to heal them right then and there, because you got to remember that you are the healer and the tank. You're doing both jobs. So, as I said, time management is a big thing in this build, and the less you have to worry about keeping someone alive is the more time you have to tank. And the more time you have to tank is more than likely the more other people getting to stay alive. Because if you're doing your job as a tank, they're not getting damage, and it's an ongoing circle. It's never ending circle. If you don't do your tank job, they take more damage, which means you have to heal more, which means you can't tank as much, And once you start to get into that kind of rotation and stuff, the build falls apart very quickly, and your group will fall apart very quickly. So the other thing about this build, it leverages its ultimates very, very, very much. So what I mean by this is I run the sword and board ult, because this build is obviously a magic tank build, and I don't have much stamina. So, you know, if I need to hold aggro of a lot of mobs or go taunt a lot of mobs, you know, I'm going to burn through that stamina really quickly. So also, just as it's happening here, I'll talk about how I deal with mobs. I don't really bother to aggro mobs. I'll prefer just to throw out some shards and a bit of DPS and throw out some heals instead of trying to aggro all of them. I might grab aggro of the archers and the mages possibly, but it's easier just in a lot of situations just to you know, keep heals out there and a bit of DPS if you can, kind of thing. So, as I was talking about my ultimates, the two-hander sword and board ult is really good because basically you can taunt as much as you want in that 7 seconds or whatever it is that it's up. Also, you've got a perma block, which means, you know, you're not going to take nowhere near as much damage as what you would while that's up. So it gives you a breather as well. So the other ultimate I use is Remembrance, and I basically call this my get out of jail free card. So say the group takes a lot of damage, I can just pop to my back bar real quick, hit that ult, and all of a sudden the whole group is back to full health, and it basically resets the fight in a lot of ways. So in combination with those two ults and also a tripod, because I'm an Ogonian, I get a lot of resources back from a tri potion, and that's basically how I keep the build going. You know, it's constantly got magic, it's constantly got stamina, it's constantly got the things that it needs to be able to do the job. And you know, some situations you might be really low on resources and you get an Imperium proc. Basically, you know, you could just use that 3 seconds or whatever it may be just to get some resources back. And, you know, that's what I love about this build. It's got so many ways of getting out of jail, you know. You can get in a sticky situation and, you know, it might not look so great. Oh, bang, you get an Imperium proc. You're all good. Bang, you get a Malabeth proc. You're all good. You're low on resources. You get a Lynch proc. You know, you're out of jail again. Your potion's back up again. You know, you've got resources another way. So it is kind of hard to play in a lot of ways because time management is a big thing with this build. But it's super fun, guys. I just want to note Mao didn't get out of that AoE. That wasn't my fault at all, guys. He just was a bit of a noob there and didn't dodge roll out of the AoE. But anyway, I just want to talk about a few of the cons before we move on, and I'll quickly just show you my gear and stuff. It doesn't like big hit, like really big high one hits, because your base resistances are quite low. So once that shield goes down, you know, basically you're not that tanky. Realistically, you're really a healer in heavy armor with a sword and board. So, you know, anything that's got really big one hits, I think like the last boss of Mazatan or Shadows or whatever it is, you know, this build struggles highly in those fights. But I'll just chuck up on the screen here. Here's a picture of the gear that I am using. As I said, I don't really want to go into the finer details. That's up to you to decide and you to fill in the gaps, because, you know, I've given you a idea and kind of the theory behind the idea. So, you know, if you want to play a build like this, then it's up to you to fill in the gaps. I don't feel like I should be giving you every piece to the jigsaw, and I really wish a lot of people would kind of go down this route, because it forces people to think and it forces people to go, okay, he didn't tell me, what glyphs to use exactly. So, okay, I need more stamina. I'm going to have a stamina glyph. Or, someone else might go, okay, I need more magic, and they'll use a magic glyph. Same with CP, they might be struggling with their heals, so they might pump a lot into their healing in CP. Yeah, you're getting the idea of what I'm saying. So, I've given you the basis of this build and, how it works. It is a lot of fun, guys. This build is a lot of fun. It's also good in PvP. I've run it in PvP a few times. It's pretty decent, especially as a raid leader. It's a good build. So, yeah, that's about all I really have to say about this build. And I hope some of you guys take the idea and, build your own Templar tanks. And if you do, let me know, guys. Let me know in the comments. If you did something different, let me know. Like, I love seeing people, take an idea and work with it and, make it their own. And that's what will, in the end, will give you the best outcome is if you personalize your builds to your playstyle. So, once again, guys, it's Johnny from JTK Gaming, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I am out. Catch ya.